Howard Hughes looked like the man every man wanted to be. He had money, movie studios, private planes, famous women, and power that followed him everywhere. He could walk into Hollywood, shake the whole business, build an aircraft, break a world record, and make headlines without even trying. But behind that golden image, something was already turning dark. His confidence became control, his control became fear. And the man who once owned the sky slowly locked himself away from the world. Dark rooms, strange rituals, pain no one could fix, a body that barely looked like him by the end. Join us as we look back at Howard Hughes' rise, romances, crashes, fears, and the lonely final years that turned a genius into a mystery. Bear with me for just a moment. This is genuinely worth 20 seconds of your time. Quick question. Can you still remember every word to a song from 1975, but you forgot what you had for breakfast this morning? Scientists found the exact reason for that pattern in 2013. It has nothing to do with aging. It's a specific system inside your brain, and researchers have found exactly how to restore it. Go to brainresearchreport.com, or if it's easier, it's linked in the description below. It's genuinely one of those things you'll wish you'd known sooner. Now, back to the video. Howard Hughes was different from the start. Howard Robard Hughes Jr. was born on December 24, 1905, in Harris County, Texas, though one church record later listed a different date, September 24th. Even that small detail adds a strange note to a life that would later become full of questions. Howard was the only child of Aline Stone Gano and Howard R. Hughes Sr., a smart inventor and businessman from Missouri. His family had English, Welsh, and some French Huguenot roots, and through the Gano family line, he was even connected to the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, the men remembered for the first successful airplane. So in a strange way, flight was already somewhere in his family story before Howard ever touched a cockpit. His father became rich after patenting the two-cone roller bit in 1909. That tool helped drill for oil in places that had been hard to reach before. But Howard Sr. did not just sell the drill bits. He leased them, and that choice made the Hughes Tool Company a fortune. Howard also had an uncle, Rupert Hughes, who was known as a novelist, screenwriter, and film director. So the young Howard grew up surrounded by money, invention, business, and storytelling. But he was not a normal rich boy waiting to inherit comfort. At 11, he built Houston's first wireless radio transmitter. At 12, a local newspaper called him the first boy in Houston with a motorized bicycle, which he had built using parts from his father's steam engine. School did not excite him much, but math, flying, and machines did. He took his first flying lesson at 14, attended Fessenden School, spent time at the Thatcher School, and later took math and aeronautical engineering courses at Caltech. From the start, Howard Hughes looked like a boy made for speed, risk, and control. That mix made him different from other boys around him. He was not just playing with toys or chasing attention. He was studying how things moved, how parts worked, and how a small idea could become something bigger. Long before the world called him a genius, he was already building a private world inside his own head every single day. But the home that gave him everything was about to lose the people who held it together. The fortune that fell into Howard's hands. Howard's early life changed fast, and not in a gentle way. His mother, Aline, died in March 1922 from complications of an ectopic pregnancy. 2 years later, in 1924, his father died of a heart attack. Howard was still a teenager, but suddenly the family fortune, the company, and the future were all sitting in front of him. His father's will had not been updated after Aline's death, so Howard inherited 75% of the family fortune. On his 19th birthday, he was declared an emancipated minor, which meant he could take full control of his life. That kind of freedom sounds like a dream, but for Howard, it also meant no real guardrails, no parents, no one above him, no one telling him to slow down. Around this time, he signed a will in 1925 that included the idea of creating a medical research laboratory. That detail matters because even as a young man, Howard already had a deep interest in science, health, and the body. Before Hollywood fully pulled him in, he was also serious about golf. In his 20s, he often played near par and had a 2 or 3 handicap. For a time, he even thought about a professional golf career. He played at Los Angeles courses like Lakeside Golf Club, Wilshire Country Club, and Bel Air Country Club, sometimes with top players. But other obsessions soon became stronger. After his father's death, Howard left Rice University. On June 1, 1925, he married Ella Botts Rice, a young woman from a respected Houston family. Then he moved with her to Los Angeles, where he wanted to prove himself in the movie business. They stayed at the Ambassador Hotel, and while learning to fly a Waco plane, Howard also began producing his first film, Swell Hogan. It was a new life, full of money, ambition, and motion. But his marriage to Ella was already being pulled into a world that never stood still. The movie dream that turned into an obsession. Howard Hughes did not enter Hollywood quietly. Ralph Graves convinced him to finance Swell Hogan, a short film Graves had written and starred in. Howard produced it, watched it, and decided it was a disaster. He hired an editor to save it, but in the end, he ordered the film destroyed. That could have ended his movie dream, but Hughes was not the kind of man who stopped after one failure. His next films, Everybody's Acting in 1926 and Two Arabian Nights in 1927, did much better. Two Arabian Nights even won the first Academy Award for Best Director of a Comedy Picture. Then came The Racket in 1928 and The Front Page in 1931, both nominated for Academy Awards. Howard was not just spending money anymore. He was becoming a real force in Hollywood, but he was also learning how much he liked control. With Hell's Angels released in 1930, that control turned into obsession. He spent $3.5 million on the flying film, a huge amount for the time. It received an Academy Award nomination for Best Cinematography, but the road to finishing it was difficult. The movie had started as a silent film, then had to be reshaped as sound changed Hollywood. Howard was willing to spend heavily on planes, pilots, and scenes until it looked the way he wanted. He produced Scarface in 1932, but censors delayed it because of its violence. Later, The Outlaw brought another storm, this time because of Jane Russell's revealing costumes. The film premiered in 1943, but was not released nationally until 1946. Hughes had entered Hollywood as a rich, young outsider, but soon became known as a man who fought censors, pushed limits, and made people uncomfortable. Even his first wife could not stay inside that world. In 1929, after 4 years of marriage, Ella returned to Houston and filed for divorce. Howard's public life was rising, but his private life was already showing cracks. The studio boss who needed total control. By the 1940s, Howard Hughes was not only making movies, he was buying power inside Hollywood. Hughes Tool Company moved into the film industry by taking partial ownership of RKO companies, which included RKO Pictures, RKO Studios, theaters, and a radio network. In 1948, Howard gained control of RKO by buying 929,000 shares from Floyd Odlum's Atlas Corporation for $1,825,000. Once he had control, he acted fast. Within weeks, he dismissed 700 employees. Production fell sharply. RKO had once made around 30 pictures a year, but during Hughes's first year in charge, it made only 9. He also arranged to transfer some of his earlier films, including The Outlaw, Mad Wednesday, and Vendetta, to RKO. But his control did not stop at money or distribution. After buying the studio, he shut down production for 6 months and ordered investigations into the political views of remaining employees. He wanted to know who was safe, who was suspect, and whether the films matched his views. If he did not like what he saw, he could hold up a release or demand changes. Minority shareholders later accused him of financial misconduct and mismanagement. Lawsuits became a constant problem. By the end of 1954, Hughes had near total control of RKO after spending almost $24 million. He became the first sole owner of a major Hollywood studio since the silent film era. But only 6 months later, he sold the studio to General Tire and Rubber Company for $25 million. He kept the rights to films he had personally produced and kept Jane Russell's contract. That sale effectively ended his 25-year role in movies. Still, his image as a financial wizard survived. He walked away with profit, but also with a reputation for turning a studio into something nervous, uncertain, and deeply tied to his need for control. And that same need followed him outside the studio gates, too. The romances that revealed his darker side. Howard Hughes was linked to some of the most famous women of his time. His name was connected with Joan Crawford, Terry Moore, Deborah Paget, Billy Dove, Faith DeMerg, Bette Davis, Yvonne DiCarlo, Ava Gardner, Olivia de Havilland, Katharine Hepburn, Hedy Lamarr, Ginger Rogers, Pat Sheehan, Gloria Vanderbilt, Mamie Van Doren, and Gene Tierney. Joan Fontaine wrote in her autobiography, No Bed of Roses, that Hughes proposed to her several times. Jean Harlow appeared with him at the Hells Angels premiere, though Noah Dietrich later wrote that the connection was professional and that Hughes did not personally like Harlow. Dietrich also wrote that Howard genuinely liked and respected Jane Russell, but did not seek a romance with her. Russell's own version was more complicated. In her autobiography, she said Hughes once tried to sleep with her after a party, but she refused, and Hughes promised it would never happen again. They kept a private and professional friendship for years. Gene Tierney had her own sharp view of him. After Hughes failed to win her over, she was quoted as saying, "I don't think Howard could love anything that did not have a motor in it." Yet when Tierney's daughter Daria was born, deaf, blind, and with a severe learning disability after Tierney's exposure to rubella during pregnancy, Hughes paid for Daria's medical care. That side of him mattered too. He could be cold, controlling, and hard to read, but he could also act with loyalty when someone needed help. His love life looked dazzling from the outside, full of stars, rumors, and famous names. But behind all of that was a pattern. Howard could attract attention easily, but lasting closeness seemed much harder. He loved beauty, mystery, speed, and control. And with some women, that control became impossible to ignore. One of the clearest examples came through Ginger Rogers. Ginger, Gene, and the Strange Price of Loving Howard. One of the most revealing stories about Howard came through Ginger Rogers. He proposed to her in 1936, then returned to her life again in 1939 and 1940. He gave her a 5-carat emerald engagement ring and promised to build a home for her on Cahuenga Peak, high above Lake Hollywood. At first, it sounded like romance, but Ginger soon felt that Howard was taking over her personal life. She suspected he had her followed and that her phone calls were watched. He also tried to control how often she spoke to her mother, Layla. One morning, Hughes wanted Ginger to go with him to a dentist appointment. She refused. Soon after, he crashed his car head-on into another car and needed 70 stitches near his eye. When Ginger came to the hospital, he told her the crash was her fault because he had been angry with her. By then, she knew about his cheating. She brought back his jewelry, including the emerald ring, and ended the engagement. Dietrich later wrote that after she left, Hughes cried. He called it the only time anyone saw Howard Hughes cry. Years later, another woman became one of the most important figures in Howard's private life. Actress Jean Peters had first met him in the 1940s, long before they married. Their relationship attracted public attention, but Jean once said that marriage did not fit with the career she wanted. Howard, however, never seemed to forget her. Unlike many of the actresses and socialites who passed through his life, Jean remained connected to him for decades. As Howard's world grew larger through Hollywood success, aviation records, business deals, and increasing secrecy, Jean Peters continued to occupy a unique place in his life. Their story would eventually become one of the most important and mysterious relationships in the Howard Hughes saga. But Howard's love life was only one piece of the mystery. To the world, he was still the fearless pilot, the record breaker, and the man who looked most alive above the clouds. The flights that made Howard Hughes a legend. While Hollywood gave Howard fame, flying gave him something deeper. Aviation was not just a hobby, it was where he chased danger, pride, and history. In 1932, he founded Hughes Aircraft Company in a rented corner of a Lockheed hangar in Burbank, California. He wanted to build the H-1 Racer, and on September 13, 1935, he flew it to a land plane airspeed record of 352 miles per hour near Santa Ana, California. The H-1 had design features meant to reduce drag, including retractable landing gear and smooth rivets and joints. It became one of his proudest creations. On January 19, 1937, he flew the same aircraft with longer wings from Los Angeles to Newark in 7 hours, 28 minutes, and 25 seconds, setting a new transcontinental record. Then, on July 14, 1938, he completed a flight around the world in just 91 hours. He flew from New York to Paris, Moscow, Omsk, Yakutsk, Fairbanks, Minneapolis, and back to New York with a crew of 4. He wanted the flight to show what American aviation technology could do. New York gave him a ticker tape parade, and he and his crew won the 1938 Collier Trophy. Hughes also won the Harmon Trophy in 1936 and 1938 and a special Congressional Gold Medal in 1939. He later declined to go to the White House to collect it, but fame in the sky also came with danger. Every record made him look fearless, but every risk left something behind. Howard kept chasing bigger machines, bigger moments, and bigger proof that he was not just a rich man playing with airplanes. Then came the H-4 Hercules, the giant flying boat critics mocked as the spruce goose. It was built mostly from birch, not spruce, and it became one of the clearest examples of his ambition. In 1947, Hughes was called before the Senate War Investigating Committee to explain why the project had taken so long and why so much money had been spent. He pushed back hard, and many saw him as the winner of those hearings. Then, on November 2, 1947, he flew the Hercules himself. It flew only once for about 1 mile, around 70 feet above the water. But for Hughes, that was enough. He had proved it could fly. Still, behind all these records and machines, there was another side to his aviation life. The sky made him a legend, but it also gave him injuries his body would never fully escape. The accidents that started his slow collapse. That damage had been building for years. Hughes survived several aircraft accidents, but 2 crashes stand out because of what they did to his body and his future. In 1943, Hughes was test flying a Sikorsky S-43 amphibious aircraft around Lake Mead. He had been practicing landings while preparing for the H-4 Hercules. On May 17th, he flew from California with 2 Civil Aeronautics Authority inspectors, 2 employees, and actress Ava Gardner. After dropping Gardner in Las Vegas, he continued to Lake Mead for tests. The flight went badly. The plane crashed into the lake, killing Inspector Seco Klein and Hughes' employee Richard Felt. Hughes suffered a deep head wound and had to be rescued. He later paid divers $100,000 to raise the aircraft and spent more than $500,000 restoring it. But the crash most tied to his decline came on July 7, 1946, during the first flight of the XF-11 near Culver City. Hughes stayed in the air longer than the planned 45-minute limit. A leak caused one of the right propellers to reverse pitch, and the aircraft began to lose control. Hughes tried to reach the Los Angeles Country Club golf course, but the plane crashed into homes in Beverly Hills. It destroyed 3 houses, exploded, and burned. Hughes pulled himself from the wreckage and was rescued by Marine Master Sergeant William L. Durkin. His injuries were terrible. He had a crushed collarbone, cracked ribs, a crushed chest, a collapsed left lung. His heart shifted to the right side of his chest, and third-degree burns. While recovering, he designed a special hospital bed with motors and buttons to move him with less pain. Doctors considered his recovery almost miraculous, but recovery was not the same as being whole. Later accounts connected his long-term pain to codeine use, though Dietrich said Hughes recovered without opiates at that time. Either way, after 1946, the handsome risk-taker carried damage no one could fully see. The bigger his empire grew, the smaller his world became. Howard's business life kept stretching into bigger worlds. In 1939, encouraged by Jack Fry of Transcontinental and Western Airlines, later known as TWA, Hughes began quietly buying stock. By 1944, he had control. He did not hold an official position, but he chose board members and gave orders. He helped push TWA into a new age of air travel. He personally financed 40 Lockheed Constellations for $18 million, then the largest aircraft order in history. These planes helped TWA pioneer non-stop transcontinental service. During the World War II, his connections in Washington helped TWA gain routes to Europe, making it the only American carrier with both domestic and transatlantic routes. But later, the move into jet aircraft became a mess. Hughes struggled to decide on a clear plan, delayed payments, and fought with Noah Dietrich over financing. Dietrich resigned by phone in 1957. As Hughes's mental state worsened, banks demanded he be removed from TWA management before giving more financing. In 1960, Hughes was forced out of management, though he still owned most of the company. TWA later sued Hughes' tool company, and Hughes went into hiding rather than testify. In 1966, he was forced to sell his TWA shares, bringing in more than $546 million. Outside TWA, he also entered real estate and Las Vegas. He bought land for Hughes aircraft, missile work, and properties near Las Vegas. In 1968, Hughes Tool Company purchased the North Las Vegas Air Terminal. Later, the original Hughes Tool businesses became Summa Corporation, though Hughes had wanted to keep his own name on them. His empire included aviation, film, land, hotels, casinos, media, and medicine. He had more money than most people could imagine. But the larger the empire became, the smaller Howard's personal world seemed to get. The hidden king of Las Vegas. In 1966, Howard Hughes arrived in Las Vegas by railroad car and moved into the Desert Inn. When the hotel wanted him to leave, he did not leave. He bought the entire hotel in early 1967. The 8th floor became the center of his business empire, and the 9th floor penthouse became his private space. Between 1966 and 1968, he bought more hotel casinos, including the Castaways, New Frontier, Landmark, Sands, and others. He also owned the Silver Slipper, though the famous story that he bought it just to move the neon slipper from his view is not considered credible. During his time in Las Vegas, he became one of the most powerful men in Nevada and spent around $300 million on properties. He wanted the city to look less tied to its rough and organized crime image. In one memo, he wrote, "I like to think of Las Vegas in terms of a well-dressed man in a dinner jacket and a beautifully jeweled and furred female getting out of an expensive car." But while he was changing the city's image, he was hiding from the world. After he left the Desert Inn, workers found that his drapes had not been opened during his stay and had rotted through. A group of close aides controlled access to him and handled business. Because many were Latter-day Saints, outsiders nicknamed them the Mormon Mafia. They managed his health, companies, daily orders, and strange requests. One famous story involved banana nut ice cream. Hughes liked the flavor, so aides arranged a special order of 350 gallons after Baskin-Robbins had stopped making it. Days later, Hughes changed his mind and wanted only French vanilla. The hotel gave away banana nut ice cream for a year. The story sounds funny, but behind it was something sadder. A powerful man surrounded by people, yet sealed away from life. The fear that took over Howard Hughes. Howard's fear of germs became one of the most painful parts of his later life. Former APA CEO Raymond D. Fowler later conducted a psychological autopsy after Hughes's death, speaking with staff and studying letters, reports, depositions, phone transcripts, and pilot logs. Fowler believed Hughes's fear for his health likely began in childhood. His mother had been deeply worried about germs and disease, especially polio. She checked him daily for signs of illness and was careful about what he ate. Fowler described a picture of a child who was isolated and had few friends, and a man who became more and more concerned about his own health. Hughes wrote detailed instructions for staff on things as simple as opening a can of peaches. The label had to be removed, the can scrubbed to bare metal, washed again, and then poured into a bowl without the can touching the bowl. He insisted that staff wash their hands several times and use paper towels while handling his food. At the same time, his own hygiene became terrible. Fowler explained the strange contradiction by saying Hughes believed germs came from the outside, not from him. In later years, Hughes used tissues to pick up objects. He noticed dust, stains, and small flaws on clothing. He could become fixated on tiny details, like a flaw in Jane Russell's blouse during The Outlaw. In 1957, he entered a dark studio screening room and stayed there for more than 4 months. He ate chocolate bars and chicken, drank milk, stacked Kleenex boxes, watched movies, and told aides not to speak unless spoken to. When he came out, he had not bathed or cut his hair or nails for weeks. The man who once crossed oceans in record time was now trapped by rituals, and the room around him kept getting darker. Howard Hughes became a ghost before he died. After the screening room episode, Hughes moved into a bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where he rented rooms for aides, his wife, and girlfriends. He could sit naked with a pink hotel napkin over his body while watching movies. The touch of clothing may have been painful because of nerve pain from his injuries, and movies gave him something to focus on besides the pain. In 1 year, he reportedly spent $11 million at the hotel. Later, he became obsessed with Ice Station Zebra and had it played again and again. Aides said he watched it 150 times. He also bought every copy he could of The Conqueror. a film he felt guilty about after many cast and crew members were later diagnosed with cancer following its filming near nuclear test areas in Utah. Hughes's world was now hotel rooms, AIDS, films, tissues, pain, and secrecy. From 1966 to 1976, he lived in hotels in several places, including Beverly Hills, Boston, Las Vegas, Nassau, Freeport, Vancouver, Nicaragua, Florida, and Grand Bahama Island. By then, his marriage to Jean Peters had also become distant. The two had not lived together for years, and in 1971, she filed for divorce. She accepted $70,000 a year in lifetime alimony, adjusted for inflation, and refused to make claims on his estate. She also refused to speak in detail about their marriage. She once said, "I'm a realist. I know what the score is, and I know who the superstar is." In 1972, when an earthquake damaged Managua, he moved first to a tent, then to the Nicaraguan National Palace, and later flew to Florida. He spent his last 4 years mostly in the penthouse of the Xanadu Beach Resort and Marina on Grand Bahama Island. He also became so hidden that author Clifford Irving was able to fool people in 1972 by claiming he had co-written an authorized Hughes autobiography. Because Hughes was rarely seen, many believed it might be true. Hughes finally denied it through a teleconference with reporters who knew his voice. The hoax collapsed, and Irving was later convicted. But the damage was revealing. Howard Hughes had disappeared so completely that the world could barely prove where the real man ended and the myth began. And when the world finally saw what was left of Howard Hughes, the truth was even harder to believe than the rumors. The billionaire no one recognized at the end. On April 5, 1976, Howard Hughes died while being flown from the Acapulco Princess Hotel in Mexico to Methodist Hospital in Houston. He was 70 years old. The cause of death was recorded as kidney failure. But the condition of his body shocked people because it did not match the old image of the tall, handsome, rich aviator. His hair, beard, fingernails, and toenails were long. His 6'4" frame weighed around 90 pounds. He was malnourished and had bed sores. X-rays found broken-off hypodermic needles in the flesh of his arms, linked to injections of codeine. He was so hard to recognize that the FBI had to use fingerprints to confirm his identity. When his body reached the Houston morgue, the alias John T. Conover was used. A photographer from KTRK-TV later recalled seeing an old man with long silver hair on a table, half covered with a sheet, and not realizing at first that the man was Howard Hughes. That was how far the image had fallen. The world remembered the dashing millionaire, the flyer, the studio boss, the man who dated movie stars. The morgue showed something else. Howard was buried beside his parents at Glenwood Cemetery in Houston, but even death did not bring quiet. About 3 weeks later, a handwritten document called the Mormon Will appeared in Salt Lake City. It gave huge sums to charities, aides, relatives, ex-wives, and a gas station owner named Melvin Dummer, who claimed he once gave a dirty, disheveled man a ride to Las Vegas. In 1978, a Nevada court ruled the will a forgery and declared Hughes had died without a valid will. His estate, worth billions, was eventually split among 22 cousins. Even after his death, Howard Hughes remained surrounded by money, mystery, claims, and unanswered questions. So what do you think really destroyed Howard Hughes? His injuries, his fears, his money, or the people around him? And what shocked you more, the way he lived in his final years, or the way the world barely recognized him when he died? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.